What is the thing in your life that you are using as an excuse to hold you back from what God has called you to do? God is not gonna cuddle that insecurity. Hi, my name is Esther. Welcome to the channel. Most of us, I think, know the saying, God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. But have you ever spent some time thinking about what that really means? Most of us, we know, or at least we have an understanding of the calling we have in our life, what God wants us to do, and not always the long-term vision or plan, but even those little short-term goals or things God wants us to do. But so often we are held back by our own insecurities and imperfections, and we use them as an excuse to not move forward with what we know that God wants us to do. Probably the question, why me, has gone through your mind at times that God asked you to do something you felt unqualified for. For instance, Moses, when God told him to go to Pharaoh, his response wasn't, "Yes, Lord." He was like, "Why me? I stutter." And there are so many more examples in the Bible, men and women who were far from perfect, just like us. They were broken, lost, damaged, flawed, just like we are. They weren't qualified. Their struggles are so relatable to many of us because, like, for instance, Jacob, he was a cheater. David had an affair. Noah got drunk. Jonah ran away from God. Paul was a murderer. Miriam was a gossiper. Thomas was a doubter. Sarah was impatient. Elijah was depressed. Moses stuttered. Abraham thought his age was an issue because he was old. Who else can relate to one or even more of those flaws? Because I know I can, and to even more than one. But you know what's interesting? Nowhere in the Bible do we see that God cuddles those insecurities they were dealing with. When Moses told God, "I stutter," or Jeremiah was like, "I can't do this," God never said, "Oh, poor you. I know this is so hard for you, but I'm sure you can do this." He never said that. All he said was, "I know you can't do it, but I can, and I will do it through you. Now go." God doesn't cuddle insecurities and weaknesses because that would imply that the answer is within us, that we can overcome issues ourselves when the only answer is found in Him. God wants us to root our identity in Him, not in our roles, not in our abilities, or not in the reasons why we think He chose us. 1 Corinthians 1 verse 25 to 29 says, "For the foolishness of God is wiser than human wisdom, and the weakness of God is stronger than human strength. Brothers and sisters, think of what you were when you were called. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were influential. Not many were of noble birth. But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. God chose the lowly things of this world and the despised things and the things that are not, to nullify the things that are, so that no one may boast before Him." He doesn't need you to be qualified. He doesn't need you to be perfect. He doesn't need you to feel ready. All you need is His presence. His presence is the guarantee that you will get through to whatever He has called you to do victoriously, despite your flaws and insecurities. What is the thing in your life that you are using as an excuse to hold you back from what God has called you to do? God is not gonna cuddle that insecurity, but you have the promise and the guarantee that He will be with you while you are doing what He has called you to do, that He will work through you. His strength will be made perfect in your weakness.